This is a show about getting spooked for fun, and neither one of the hosts are associated with the attractions discussed in any way, except for those skeletons in Devin's closet. Some topics may go from ghoulish to ghastly, so viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Great American Scream.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great American Scream. I'm Devin Wright.
I'm Adam O'Connell.
And today we're going to be talking about roller coasters. Adam, I'm very excited about this because I, for one, love roller coasters. And I would like to talk about my favorite one because it's just a roller coaster podcast. I'd like to talk about actually 3 different roller coasters. They're all in Hershey Park. The first one is Storm Runner. And my favorite part about it, it's an intimate accelerator. And the best part about it is the launch before you go. It does what I think Accelerator 305 or another one of those roller coasters does, where it has a little voice line in the beginning. But this one, he just goes, and I'm not joking. You pull out, you stop, you do the little roll back to engage with the launch, and then it goes, get ready to go, and then you go. And that's what it says. So the second one is Comet at Hershey Park. It's the best small wooden roller coaster ever in the world, and nobody talks about it. The third one is Trailblazer, which is a very bad mine train that's, I think, by Aerodynamics, and it is very fun. And I think there's like a cowboys and American Indians thing going on, so it's very bad, and I don't like it, but it merits a mention here. Okay, now Adam, go.
Okay, I normally, this would be the part where I make a joke about not knowing what any of those words mean, but I've been playing so much Planet Coaster over quarantine that I'm pretty much just Joe Rohde now.
You are Joe. You are Kevin Perjurer as. Yeah. Who does he pretend to be? Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I pretty much know everything there is to know about roller coaster, even though I'm horrible.
Yeah, you're
at
not
math.
A roller coaster man.
No, okay. So anybody who's listened to this show before knows that I have a roller coaster phobia. And it's an irrational phobia. I hate most about it, because I'm not afraid of dying or being unsafe on a roller coaster. I know they're safe. I know science is great and those engineers are very smart. I know I'm safe. But if I cannot think of a feeling that I hate most in this world than the feeling of dropping and the feeling in your stomach when you go over an airtime hill. Yeah. And I know that this is an
that's my favorite
phobia.
kind. Airtime hills are my favorite. Negative G's are the best. My problem is when you're going down the hill, there's always about 2 seconds in the first hill where you're starting to bottom out and you start to get the negative or the positive G's and you're like, okay, I still can't catch my breath. It's been about 5 seconds and I still can't catch my breath. And I think I hate roller coasters right now. But then you hit that hill and you're like, oh, okay, it's fine now.
I know that my phobia is irrational because even when I get online for coasters that I have been on before and love, like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is one of my favorite rides in the universe, I still get sweaty and nauseous and nervous. I got to go to the preview before it opened for guests of the Slinky Dog roller coaster.
I want to go on that so bad. It looks so good.
And I almost chickened out online. And the lovely
God.
couple in front they were wonderful. They cheered me on.
Yeah.
But
I mean, those
nervous.
are just airtime hills. That's all that coaster is.
I get nervous. And anybody who's ever been on a roller coaster with me can testify that I get positively green online. And the less time that I wait online, the better. If I just walk on, I can do it. If I have to wait, that's a huge, big window for me to
That's
get
why
out of there.
So many roller coasters have the chicken line. The chicken door where you can, I don't know, there's another word for it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You can always kind of exit towards the end.
Yeah. And for the longest time I was cool with my roller coaster phobia, right? Because I also I didn't feel like a total wimp because I love haunted houses and stuff. I can even I can do crazy water slides. But I can't do crazy roller coasters. Okay. It's I was so fine with this for the longest time. And then when quarantine started and everyone knows I'm a big theme park nerd, I started to get like retroactive FOMO, and I was thinking of all of the times that I had like gone to theme parks with my friends, and I would like stay off the coasters to like hold everybody's sunglasses and stuff.
Of course.
And I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get to go to theme parks with my friends again, and I missed out on all these times to go on roller coasters with them.
Yeah, but you spent all that time being a great friend who holds sunglasses.
I am a great friend who will hold your sunglasses. But so I have made, this is my thing, is that next time that I am in Disney World, I want to go on Expedition Everest. That's going to be my neck, because I can do Big Thunder Mountain. I can do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I think
you can do Space Mountain.
I can do Space Mountain. I'm feeling brave.
Expedition Everest is Rock and Roller Coaster is also pretty intense, but like Expedition Everest may be the most intense Disney roller coaster.
I'm not ready for anything with inversions, but I think Everest is kind of just over the threshold of what I can handle.
It does go backwards. It
does go backwards, which I'm worried about. But I think once that second drop after the mountain is done, the drop where they take your picture, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be so good after that.
Well, the thing is, the thing about being afraid of roller coasters, and I was afraid of roller coasters much like Adam was back when I was 6 years old. And the thing with roller coaster fear is a lot of it is just the irrational part of your brain going, this is bad, I hate this. And then once you do it once, or once you're past the first hill, or once you're even like strapped in and like up the hill, you're like, I'm stuck here now. I guess what it is. Yeah, this is just what it is. And your brain kind of turns off and has fun. Now, my thing, I didn't think that there is, I don't know why. It's probably because it's in the dark and Aerosmith is very loud.
Everyone thinks there's an inversion on Everest, and there's not. There's
no.
inversions.
I always think that there are no inversions on Rock and Roller Coaster.
People say that too. It's all inversions. Like,
there are only 3, so let's not be weird.
The coaster is like 60 seconds long.
Yeah, that's true. Wait, how long is it technically? 1 minute and 22 seconds long.
It is.
It's not even a full Aerosmith.
No, it is not a full.
The best part about that roller coaster, this is going to be about actually scary, like designed to be horror roller coasters.
But what this episode is about.
But I'm going to take advantage of this and just talk about roller coasters because I love them so much. The best part about Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster is the fact that one of the songs that can play is Love in an Elevator, except it's Love on a Roller Coaster.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I wish I was brave enough to go on Rock and Roller Coaster, but I want to start with Everest, and then so today I want to talk not only about like the science behind roller coaster phobia and fear, but like Devin said, also some famous horror themed coasters, because there's a lot of really good ones out there that I would love to muster up the courage to ride because they have such good horror theming. And we've talked about Revenge of the Mummy a lot on this show, so we're not going to talk about it again. I think we talked about it recently. Plus, it's still going to get its own episode.
It will definitely get its own episode. That ride is the best.
We're not going to talk about it here, but
we all have this like quarantine FOMO, like all this thing. Every single year, twice a year, I get a God, I want to go to a water park feeling, and I get a God, I want to go to an amusement park feeling.
Yeah.
And this year, obviously, it was worse than most years. And it is in this quarantine FOMO this year that I realized how much I loved Revenge of the Mummy. Something about it is just so good. I don't feel like I wrote it as a kid or like even as like a kind of preteen. Like it never registered. And then I wrote it like 2 times, like back to back, like for my senior trip. And then when I went back with my family, it is such a good goddamn ride, but that's not what the episode is about. And I know that, but I want to talk about it.
Okay, I appreciate that. And we'll have time to talk about Revenge of the Mummy in another episode because it deserves the full 40 minutes. But so I want to start by talking about like what coaster phobia is and why people are afraid of roller coasters, especially people that like other things like haunted attractions and horror movies, but not roller coasters. Yeah. So there actually is no kind of more scientific name for the fear of roller coasters. It's mostly just called coaster phobia.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a form of acrophobia, which is the fear of heights.
And we'll talk about the kind of subphobias of that. But so like roller coasters appeal to the same part of our brain that haunted attractions and horror movies do. We do it for the adrenaline rush. It reminds us that we're alive. So it comes as no surprise that humans love roller coasters so much. Humans love putting themselves in danger, but not real danger. Safe danger.
I feel like, Adam, you and I are kind of 2 sides of the same coin. 2 Oreo cookies smushing together some delicious crib. I didn't like that one either, but it's what came into my head. But I have always loved roller coasters and always hated haunted houses and horror movies. And you're the exact opposite way. What is it, before, we dive into the science, what do you think is the difference between your like ability to kind of take on these horror and haunted house context fears and your inability to do the same with roller coasters?
Well, I think it's like what you said before about the kind of sub phobias of fear, because most of the time when people say that they have a fear of roller coasters, it's usually something that like one specific aspect of the roller coaster, and it's different for a lot of people.
Okay.
So it could be fear of heights. It could be a fear of enclosed spaces. It could be fear of getting sick. It could be vertigo. Like it's kind of different.
Right.
While with haunted attractions, most of the time people are afraid of haunted attractions for the same reason. They don't like getting startled.
Okay. So why don't you like roller coasters? Like, is it a I don't like the feeling? You said you don't like to be dropped.
Yeah, I don't like the dropping feeling, and I'm afraid of heights. So that's a big part of it.
Because I think I don't like heights. I might have a fear of heights. I just I don't like them. They make me very nervous. I don't like being on tall things. But I love roller coasters. Like, I love them. And I think it's a love of, I know later you have like claustrophobia as part of it for a lot of people, that they don't like being confined. For me, the feeling of being snug in my little roller coaster thing, it's like
seat.
a nice feeling. Like, I make the joke that I can fall asleep on Great Bear at Hershey Park because it is, and that's a coaster with like 7 inversions, but it is like a smooth ride that I'm like a baby in a little crib. But
Swaddled.
the crib is a roller coaster. But with haunted houses and horror movies, for me, I think the fear of horror movies and haunted things as a younger person was the fact that most of this actual scaring was happening in my own head.
You're exposed, like you're vulnerable.
Right.
Vulnerable.
Right. Haunted houses, I'm like, these people have control over whether I get spooked or not, which I didn't like. And then with horror movies, it was like, I'm going to not be able to sleep tonight because I'm going to think about all this scary stuff that mean Kubrick guy put on the screen for me to see. But for roller coasters, I was like, control gone. I love this feeling.
Maybe then it's actually the opposite of that for me, because when I'm in a haunted attraction, I feel like I have agency. Like if I don't like what's going on, I can plug my ears or cover my eyes or walk quicker or walk slower.
Right. Yeah, I don't like the agency. Take it away from me.
Once I'm on the coaster, like you said, I'm on the coaster. Like there's nothing I can do to change the experience I'm about to have.
Are you the kind of person who has ever gotten... you go into it, you get peer pressured to go onto the roller coaster, and then in the station, sometimes when it's pulling out, you start to go like, no, stop the ride.
No,
and then you ruin the fun for everyone.
No, once it's going for me, like once I'm in. My threshold is usually, when you get to the end of the line, they go, okay, you 2 to row 7. Because after I've gotten to that, it's like I'm going on the coaster.
Because you have the idea of like, well, I don't want to ruin it. Like,
yeah, exactly. I don't want to screw it up for everybody.
That is so good. It's like it's the Vine of that guy screaming in the roller coaster. He's like, I'm going to get you. And then he pulls out of the station.
So as roller coasters have gotten more and more advanced over the years, engineers are constantly looking for ways to kind of invoke this fear as much as possible, purposefully so, to provide the biggest adrenaline rush possible. People kind of get used to 2 inversions, been there, done that.
King
so
to
okay,
Ka?
what if we had 10
That's fine.
inversions?
Yeah, King to Ka's fine. I've ridden King to Ka like maybe 10, 15 times. I love that coaster. It's not the best coaster design-wise, but I stopped being scared by it after the second time. The scariest thing was probably 2 times ago that I rode it. I had my phone in my pocket, and as we launched, I felt my phone float out of my pocket and then start to crawl up my back. And then we took the thing up and it started to float away from the seat. And so I grabbed it and clutched it in my hand while going 400 feet up into the sky, or however tall it is. And then I turned to my friend in the seat next to me. I looked at him and I looked at my phone, and then we looked back at each other, and then we just started screaming because it was so terrifying to be holding my phone while on the fastest and tallest roller coaster ever.
I mean, think of the difference between this Cyclone, one of the earliest roller coasters in the United States, wooden coaster. It goes pretty fast. Top speed of 60 miles an hour is fast.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. Yeah.
But
coaster.
Wooden coaster, a total height of 85 feet versus like the Velocicoaster that's going to open this summer at Universal Studios, 155 foot tall top hat, several inversions, and a top speed of 70 miles an hour.
Adam, I love you so much. It is so funny that you put Velocicoaster as like, look how scary it is.
But no.
For me,
not for scary. I meant like new, like the newest
like,
coaster.
Like it's not the height of adrenaline, that coaster.
I mean, there's worse, but it's the newest one. It's the next one.
That's what I mean. I just love that you're like, God, the scariest coaster, the most thrilling coaster ever, Velocicoaster. I'm excited for that coaster, though. I'm so excited.
So I couldn't find like a number of how many people fear roller coasters in the United States, but I say it's fairly common. Most people that I meet, I would say it's probably a 50-50 split between people that love roller coasters and hate roller coasters.
Yeah, I feel like it's also a gradient thing. There are tons of people who just don't like roller coasters, but there are not a ton of people that they get that kind of sinking, like I cannot do this kind of feeling. Yeah.
So one thing to understand about anxiety disorders, especially
let's get into
as
it. Two
phobia.
Experts.
No, but especially in the terms of phobia, is that they often involve the fear of fear. Like, so while people without these anxieties may only become afraid in fear-inducing situations or in danger, people with certain anxiety disorders or certain phobias are afraid of the prospect of becoming afraid.
Yes. That's me with haunted houses and horror
only
movies.
Launches you into like a spiral of you're afraid over something that hasn't happened
and then
yet.
That's what we call a panic attack.
Yeah. And therefore, like, fear is something to be avoided at all costs, which would cause you to avoid something like haunted attractions or roller coasters to avoid feeling fear. Some people I love to feel fear in haunted houses, but not on a roller coaster. So like there are parts of it where you're like, oh, I love the feeling of feeling fear because it reminds you you're alive. But for other things, especially surrounding phobias and anxiety disorders, fear is something to completely be avoided. You should not feel
I already
fear.
know I'm alive because half of the time I'm reminding myself of all the things that could go wrong at any moment.
Yeah. So, and usually people with coaster phobia get anxiety from different aspects, like we said. So acrophobia, the fear of heights, is one reason. At least for me, it's probably the biggest reason. It's kind of self-explanatory. Even if you know it's safe and you won't fall, it doesn't stop you from being afraid of heights.
Right.
Claustrophobia is also a big thing for roller coasters because, like Devin said, by design, roller coaster seats are small and compact for safety. And those that are made uncomfortable by enclosed spaces that could cause a lot of anxiety for them.
And wildest thing about this, I like to be nice and snug. There are some roller coasters that I like that they have what's called a buzz bar, which kind of floats above your, more safe roller coasters have those, or less intense, I should say. There are a bunch of people who purposefully lift up their legs so that for negative G's, they can actually get lifted out of their seat. That is wild. I am a very skinny person. I don't have much meat on my bones, and I can still feel the negative G's. Like the various sacs that fill my body can still move around, even though the bar's fully on.
I mean, one of the other kind of biggest things, and this is kind of like the most medical of these reasons, is that a lot of people have severe motion sickness or even mild motion sickness that can get aggravated by roller coasters, or they have a emetophobia, the fear of vomiting. So the fear of getting sick on a roller coaster may stop people from getting on roller coasters altogether. I've never gotten sick on a roller coaster. Okay. Like, that's not why I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I still don't like the stomach feeling, but...
Yeah, I feel like I'm finally getting old because I've started to get motion sick more often. Like, I keep getting car sick, even on short rides, and it's very frustrating to me. I have always gotten sick on not puke sick, but just bleh sick at spinny rides.
Okay.
Like, the only spinny ride I can do consistently is the tilt-a-whirl.
Okay.
Anything else, I'm not in.
I get pretty nauseous on Mission Space. And either the gyrosphere. Well,
that's because it's Mission Space. I think part of the immersion for Mission Space is that everybody gets nauseous at the same time, and you will have to share that during your mission to Mars or
it's
space.
It's a beautiful shared experience between you and your family members or your friends or the strangers if you were on the single rider line.
Yeah.
So as roller coasters keep getting more daring and scarier, one way that engineers and theme park designers are doing this is not only making them an adrenaline-packed thrill ride, but giving it a horror theme to play on both physiological and psychological fear. So I started to research some horror themed coasters because there's not a ton. But there are quite a few notable ones. And what I learned from this research is that England, y'all nasty over there.
Y'all nasty. Y'all. I don't want to be blue on this podcast, but y'all kind of horny for horror roller coasters over there. And not just all of you. It's really kind of one pit of debauchery that you all just seem to go to and get randy with this spooky stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a couple of these. These are all in England, just because that's how the cookie crumbles. I had to cut some because I had way too much to say about all of these. I'd also like to introduce some individual scales for how we're going to be ranking these rides.
Oh, okay.
So for me, and Devin, you can make up your own, but for me, as the roller coaster phobic, I'm going to do the oh hell no scale, with 1 being any day baby and 5 being I would have to be a dead body for you to get me on this ride.
Now that's not safe. Roller coasters can fling dead bodies. But anyway.
So
my scale is going to be let's call it the super duper looper to what's the most intense ride I've ever been on. Let's go super duper looper to El Toro. Not that El Toro is super intense, or not that it has inversions or anything, but that sucker can brown you out.
Yeah, is this an enjoyment scale or is this a thrill scale?
This is a thrill scale, because Super Duper Looper I love, and Adam, I think it should be your first ever inversion, because it is literally a tiny arrow looper that goes up a single hill, goes down into a single loop, and then does a nice little run along a lake, and turns back and goes back into the station. So I love Super Duper Looper. This is the thing. I don't not like roller coasters unless they hurt me or are super boring. Okay. So if it's a boring ride, I don't care. It's not on my scale. It's unranked.
Got it.
Also, I want to say that we'll get into that later, because I have some thoughts about trying to put theming into roller coasters and whether it works or not.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about them first.
So I want to start off by talking about Saw the Ride over at Thorpe Park. And I know we've talked about it on the show before, but its existence cracks me up. So I want to talk about it again. So this is a roller coaster that is obviously themed to the Saw franchise. It was actually the first roller coaster ever to be inspired by a horror film. And I think still one of the few. I really can't think of any roller coasters that are based on horror movies besides this. Can't think of a lot of attractions that are based on horror movies.
I guess Revenge of the Mummy.
Attractions. I guess the Mummy, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of it. The Simpsons ride, although that's not there anymore.
Simpsons ride's still there.
Oh, what did Despicable Me replace?
Jimmy Neutron.
Oh, let's bring Jimmy Neutron back.
Yeah, it was good. So this roller coaster opened on March 13th, 2009 at Thorpe Park in Surrey, England, and is a Eurofighter.
Yep.
This is a steel coaster model by Gerstlauer with the trademark.
In this podcast, we stand Gerstlauer.
The trademark feature of this coaster being a beyond vertical drop reaching an angle greater than 90 degrees. These models also usually have a chain lift hill and individual cars featuring 2 rows of 4 seats. So it's not like a train, it's just one car. Other famous coasters that use this model are the Mystery Mine at Dollywood and Daredevil Dive at Six Flags Over Georgia.
And also it's TMNT Shellraiser.
Yes, TMNT Shellraiser, the one that just opened at the Florida, not Florida Dream Mall, the American
Dream Mall. Nickelodeon universe in Jersey.
So the drop angle on Saw the Ride is 100 degrees, making it the steepest in the world at the time that it opened. It has since been surpassed by Takabisha of Fuji-Q Highland theme park in Japan, which
I want to go to Takabisha so bad.
It has a drop of 121 degrees.
I went on Fahrenheit, which is a Hershey Park roller coaster that was 97 degrees when it opened, because I was a cool kid.
So first Saw the Ride, the queue and the ride takes place in this abandoned warehouse, like many of Jigsaw's traps do, where guests, they kind of weave through chain link fence with razor wire, and they see different mannequins and parts of traps and stuff. There's a lot of cool references for the movie and stuff in here.
Also, it's just such a good concept for whether or not theming works on roller coasters. The way that theming allows you to do wild stuff with queues is so fun. Because just the idea that crazy guy Jigsaw, that wacky guy that we all love, decided to set up this warehouse. It even if we take it one little step away from the fiction that they probably want us to believe in, the idea that it's just open and people are just going on through.
Yeah.
This is Jigsaw's scary ride. Please, I want to get off of Mr. Jigsaw's scary ride.
The indoor queue actually used to have actors that would be like the pig heads and Jigsaw's victims, but they were unfortunately cut throughout the years due to
Austerity.
budget cuts.
Screw the Conservative Party.
So the ride begins in this indoor section where Billy the Puppet kind of introduces the trap to the riders. And I tried to find the script of the ride or good audio where he explains like how the trap works. But every video I watched was like, so I have no idea what the rules of this game are.
Yeah, it's actually because they couldn't find. They couldn't hire the actual Jigsaw. As we know, the Tories were in control, so
It's
they couldn't afford it.
definitely not Tobin Bell.
But it's a British guy. So you have a British guy doing a Jigsaw accent, and it all goes downhill. You can't understand it.
Yeah, if anybody knows what he says, please tell me. But so then the car then approaches these two swinging pendulum blades until that you get closer to until this almost vertical drop moves the car out of the way. Then you get these air blasts fired at you that are supposed to be crossbows that are loaded with syringes.
How did they portray that?
Silly. I mean, you see them on the side.
Oh, okay.
But like the implication is that they're missing you.
You can feel the syringe as it
This
flies
is a silly
past.
trap, Mr. Jigsaw. Crossbows
Mr.
loaded with
Jigsaw, what was your
syringes.
idea? Mr. Jigsaw, you didn't even think about the aerodynamics of a syringe when you built this.
So then the car enters a heartline roll, which is pretty brutal in that kind of car, especially if you're sitting on the end seats.
Yeah, those are for those who don't know, it's literally just
like you flip around.
Yeah, basically the car stays in the same place in space, but the track moves around it so that the car rotates, but doesn't actually move up, down, left, right. It only moves forward and rotates. It's a rough element.
Yeah, especially in a wide car like that. So like if you're on one of the two end seats, you're getting tossed around like a rag doll. You can, and as you go through this heartline roll, you can see a body / it's maybe supposed to be Jigsaw on the ground in a pool of blood, which I think is a reference to the first movie, because in the first movie, he's the dead air quote body in the, spoiler alert, he's the dead air quote body in the middle of the bathroom.
Yeah.
But then it approaches the 100-foot vertical lift hill. And as you climb the hill, the car begins to accelerate, and you pass these two digital timers that reach 0, and you hear Jigsaw go game over before it drops down the
Ready Player One. I know that reference.
It drops down the 100-degree drop, narrowly avoiding these kind of like spinning saw blade. Like you know how you go on Splash Mountain and there's like the briar thorns, and it looks like you go into the briar thorns. That's what it looks like from the outside, that you go into the saw blade.
But with saws, and instead of Brer Rabbit, it's Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Instead of noted denizen of a racist movie, Brer Rabbit, it's beloved film star Billy the Puppet.
So the ride lasts 1 minute and 40 seconds, hits a top speed of 55 miles per hour, and features 3 inversions, including an Immelman loop, and a
it's just an
dive
Immelman.
loop. Yeah. Which I learned that these are the same shape, these two loops. But the difference is which way you enter them. Because if you imagine it's like kind of a crooked C where like the bottom is longer than the top, if you're entering from the top, it's a dive loop, and then if you enter from the bottom, it's the other one. I might have gotten those mixed up.
No, I believe that's correct. You've been grinding it out on Planet Coaster.
I know the lingo.
Literally put that. That's funny.
So the theming has been praised, but apparently the coaster itself has gotten just generally mixed reviews for it being short and kind of rough.
Yeah.
In general, I would give this a 4.5 out of 5 on the hell no scale. 0.5 dock, because I would probably wait on the queue with everybody and then I would get off. But I don't think you could get me on this. I love Saw, but I don't think you could get me on this.
Yeah, I give this like a 3, just a solid middle of the road 3. Okay. I think the Eurofighter model has been better done in places like Shellraiser, and is Takabisha a Eurofighter? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I just think there are better versions of this coaster. 55 miles an hour is nothing.
It's not super fast, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of dive loops. So, yeah, it gets a solid 3. I think the theming makes sense. Again, I don't know how well you can execute because, like, when you're inside, if you have a totally enclosed roller coaster, like the Mummy does this, and if Rock and Roller Coaster does this, you really do feel like you're in a very fast limo going to the Aerosmith concert. The theming kind of stays contained, but with Saw, you like go outside and you're like, oh, that person's
once you
eating a churro.
pass the saw blades and get to most of the coaster part, like the theming's over.
Right. You're outside. It's the same way that in the Hulk, you're like, oh, I'm gonna become the Hulk, and then you're
blasted
outside
out of the Hulk tube.
You know, the famous Hulk tube from the comics. But that being said, I think this coaster would be fun.
Yeah,
so
it
like
looks like fun.
I'd definitely go on it. It's not unranked.
So I want to stay in England, and actually all the rest of the ones we're going to talk about are all
Randy
the
Central.
Same park. Because
we're
Alton
going to
Towers,
the most wild. Y'all, who is Alton? This is Alton Brown's. This is
Randy.
Alton Brown purchased a theme park that was previously themed to Fortnite, and so it's Alton Brown's Tilted Towers. That's what I'm calling Alton Towers.
Y'all nasty over there in Alton Towers. Y'all Randy.
Y'all get wild about these spooky dang roller coasters, huh?
Okay. So I want to start by talking about probably the most famous and infamous one at Alton Towers, which is the Smiler. So this is a hugely popular coaster with impressively deep theming that has an unfortunately troubled history.
Look up the commercials for this roller coaster right now. They are
pause the podcast.
Wild.
So like here's the basics of the Smiler. It's a steel coaster located at Alton Towers in Staffordshire, England. It opened in 2013 as the world's first Gerstlauer Infinity coaster, which is a variant on the Eurofighter. With 14 inversions, it holds the world record for the most inversions on any coaster in the world. It features a 98.4 foot drop, 2 lift hills, and reaches a top speed of 52 miles an hour.
I'm not too impressed by the stats of these coasters other than the inversions. When you put themings into your roller coasters, do the roller coaster police come and they say, well, it can't be too high, it can't go too fast?
You want people to look at the theming.
That's fair.
You can't look at the theming if you're whizzing past 85 miles an hour.
If you put theming on Kingda Ka, nobody would see it.
Yeah.
Maybe Kingda Ka's been themed this whole time and nobody's noticed.
It's like, why do you think there's no theming on Kingda Ka? Oh, it's the jungle. Like the green roller coaster.
Then you go up and you're like, this isn't the jungle. This is Jackson, New Jersey.
The sky. So this ride, if you look at this ride, it looks insane. This ride looks like you took your Tangled headphones out of your pocket and threw them down on the coffee table and went, there, that's the layout.
I think that's what Mr. Gerstlauer did.
So one thing you need to know about Alton Towers roller coaster theming is that it is buck wild.
They don't care. So there are some things about like building there that they have to keep in mind. So like they can't build past a certain height because of like restrictions around construction. They also can't be too like ugly because Alton Towers is like part of a larger estate. So there are a bunch of rules. So like a lot of their theming seems to come out of the fact that they can't do just like crazy tall roller coasters. So they have to do crazy interesting roller coasters.
Yeah, so the Smiler is themed around a facility called the Ministry of Joy, quote, the market leaders in social compliance treatment.
This is something that it was a Thatcher ministry and then it kind of came back and Tony Blair got rid of it for a few years.
This facility has a device called the Marmalizer, which is a huge five-armed...
a big ray that evil Paddington built. And it shoots bad marmalade at the whole city.
It's this 5-arm structure in the middle of the ride, and like the story thing is it's designed to hypnotize / corrupt the riders into like this like psychotic,
with
nothing
this
behind
marm.
the eyes happiness.
Yeah, with this bad, horrible marm.
Yeah, so each leg has its own ability that you pass by.
Oh, good. Okay.
The first is the inoculator, which injects you with a happiness serum, which, like,
That's-
Alton Towers,
I
I
mean-
know you're not open right now, but you just put the COVID-19 vaccine in there and bing, bang, boom, everybody gets their vaccine on the Smiler.
I was going to make a joke about how I don't need an arm for that. Mine is called Vyvanse and Escitalopram. That was going to be my joke.
Then the next arm is the tickler.
Oh,
Self-explanatory.
okay. Kind of highs and lows. They give you a little bit of one, a little bit of the other.
Then the flasher, which produces blinding, flashing lights intended on disorienting the riders.
Originally, it was supposed to be a creepy old man from the 50s who wore a long trench coat, but then PC culture had to come into it. That's a joke.
The giggler, which releases noxious laughing gas, and finally the hypnotizer, which disorients riders into compliance.
And also the Joker, and it's just the Joker. It's just the Joker in this one.
I was going to say that these all sound like Batman villains.
Yeah, the last one is the Joker, and he reminds you that we live in a society.
So the marketing campaign for this ride was huge. So there was subliminal advertising for the attraction using the logo that appeared all over not only the park, but all over the country. The logo for the Smiler was projected onto Big Ben.
Wait, onto the tower?
Yeah.
That's not Big Ben. Big Ben is
Ben's
the bell.
Clock.
Or whatever.
The bell or whatever.
Is Big Ben the clock or the bell?
I don't know.
Is Big Ben the clock or the bell? It auto-completed.
Which is it?
The name only refers to the bell, which weighs 15.1 tons.
That's a lot. They had all sorts of, like, there was a viral marketing campaign with, like, secret hidden videos and a website. This is a thing for British and Irish farmers, that you have to paint your sheep when you live in the countryside, so that way if your sheep wander, you know which farm they belong to. So they painted the sides of these sheeps with the Smiler logo. There were sheep with the Smiler on it.
I don't remember what the Smiler logo is, but in my head it's the Watchmen logo.
It's close. It's like the swirly eyes with the big, like, Cheshire cat smile.
Okay.
And then the tagline "You belong to the Smiler" began to appear everywhere as well, which is a scary tagline. Yeah, I love when rides have little taglines. I think it's fun.
I think it's very silly. I think that most people don't actually, other than like random teenagers, think that that's actually effective at all. However, the like audacity to make your roller coaster seem like a movie, or like all the Tower of Terror like sequels where they're like, this is a sequel to the last ride, and it's like, no, it's not, it's the same dang tower.
It's like how Dinosaur over to Animal Kingdom, under the sign that says Dinosaur, it says it's fast, it's a blast, it's in the past. I love
that one was a Michael Eisner original.
Yeah.
That one he just came up with, and he said, put it on the sign.
So the Smiler unfortunately has a notoriously troubled history with many issues and delays with construction because of the intense nature of the coaster. Less than 24 hours before the opening in March of 2013, they announced it would not be opening on that day due to issues. And they didn't open it until May.
The Smiler done. The Smiler said not today.
Yeah, and it didn't open until May, and when it did open, no announcement. They opened it in the middle of the day.
Good. That's how it should be.
So the ride in general is just a flurry of inversions and two lift hills set to this very scary, laughing music soundtrack.
Hell yeah.
You're never right side up on this ride. Who knows what's going on?
If we were to create a alignment chart for roller coasters, no matter who goes everywhere else, the Smiler is in chaotic evil.
Yeah.
And that's good.
So there were constant closures within the first few years of opening due to technical issues, including a cracking foundation, train stalling, stuff literally falling off the tracks. However, the biggest kind of controversy and accident didn't occur until 2015, when, due to a miscommunication between ride mechanics, a car full of riders collided with an empty test car, leading to 16 injured. Thankfully, everyone survived, but a few were injured quite severely. And it changed the ride and the park forever. So Merlin Entertainment, the corporation that runs Alton Towers, was fined $5 million for this accident, and attendance plummeted for the parks, causing a loss of $14 million for Alton Towers. The Smiler would not open again until a year later, with all of the references to correction and marmalization removed.
You will no longer become marmalade if you go on this ride.
But no incidents or accidents or major mechanical issues have occurred since on the Smiler. Thankfully, this has caused a lot of visitors to avoid the Smiler altogether,
right.
But it's still one of the most popular rides in the park, especially amongst locals. People love this dig
and to
thing.
Enthusiasts, it's a big favorite.
Regardless, this is an absolute 5 out of 5 on the oh hell no scale. Even without the mechanical issues, I don't think there's anything in this universe that could get me on this ride.
I would probably put this at our scales are flipped. I just noticed. Because a 5 for me is great.
Well, because mine's called the oh hell no scale.
Right. I think that actually makes sense. Because the higher on yours, the higher on mine.
Yeah.
This would probably be a 4 or a 4.5. I think if the theming was still there, it would probably be a 5, just because I would think it was silly and fun. A lot of it still is.
If you watch recent videos,
yeah, but I don't get to see evil Paddington.
The Marmalizer is still there. They just don't call it anything.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, they didn't take out the big structure. That's all the theming. There wouldn't be anything else in the coaster. But I think it's on the queue. A lot of the references got taken away to kind of tone it down.
Well,
but the Marmalizer is still there, and you can go look at it. So I want to stay in Alton Towers because we're going to talk about 13.
Yep.
Because they like to do it crazy there.
They do.
So 13 is the story of a pretty cool coaster with marketing that way oversold it.
Right. This was the one that they put in a tent, and then they were like, the tent is going to be so cool.
Yeah.
And then people were like, show us what's under the tent. And they did it, and they were like, oh.
Yeah. So 13 is an Intamin Steel family coaster. And Intamin is best known for rides like Superman the Ride, Incredicoaster, Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts, Fahrenheit, and Kingda Ka. Intamin makes excellent rides.
Yeah. This coaster, I think, is more akin to something like Superman the Ride or Incredicoaster.
Honestly, I don't know if Intamin made this. I think they did, but it's insanely similar to Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbikes Adventure. It's
but if that were true, it would be a very good ride. And this one isn't incredible.
They're the exact same layout and concept, though.
Yeah.
So I think Intamin worked on that ride. Don't quote me on that. So this ride opened on March 20th, 2010, and was the world's first freefall drop coaster, boasting a 16-foot freefall drop track.
So kind of like Escape from Gringotts in that way as well.
No, that's
that one has
Hagrid's.
a drop track.
No, it's not a drop track. It's they on Gringotts, they take you and you're on the track and then they tilt the track down to connect it and then you go. This is a free fall drop.
Right. Those are both two kinds of drop tracks.
Right. But this was the free fall one. Hagrid's also has a free fall drop track.
Good for them.
Yeah. I think Hagrid's.
God, I want to go on that roller coaster.
Feet. I know, God, I hate J.K. Rowling so much, but darn if that doesn't look like a good roller coaster.
No money's going into her pocket from me riding Hagrid's motorbike adventure.
I feel like it still is.
How much money's going into her pocket? 4 cents? I'll donate every time I go on Harry's motorbike adventure.
How much control she has over that land.
Anytime I go into that place and spend any money, I will donate the same amount of money to multiple trans activist groups.
Yeah, as a trans person, I would still go on the Hagrid ride, but I'm not going to be happy about it. 13, it features a 60-foot drop and reaches 42 miles an hour, which is quite tame compared to what we have seen before. So it is themed around the demons. It is 13 stylized as TH, the number 13 teen, because it looks like an R when you put them together.
Well, but it does. It is spelled the 13 teen.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
So it is themed around the demons of the dark forest and going on an adventure to confront them. Of course, again, features a Buck Wild commercial.
So good.
The thing about this ride is that although it was a family coaster, it was advertised as a terror thrill ride and a, quote, psy coaster, combining both physiological and psychological horror. Press releases claim that the ride was going to be so terrifying, the resort was considering having guests sign a waiver before riding or only allowing those age 16 to 55 to ride. The commercial that they made was deemed too scary to air before 9 p.m. in England, with the tagline being, if you go down to the woods today, you better not go alone.
If you go out in the woods today.
So for some reason, all of Alton Towers advertising is like, you will perish on this ride.
Yeah, but it's like I think the best theming in roller coasters are for family coasters. Mm-hmm. Like I forget if it's I feel like it's not it had to be one of the coasters at Williamsburg, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, that isn't there anymore, but dropped towards the it might be Alpengeist. It's one of those, and has like such interesting theming when you like go into the woods and there's like a spooky like town that's abandoned and like ooh, the kind of stuff that you're like, oh, that's neat, or that your parent when you were like 8 would be like, oh, look
at that,
that's what theming is for. But don't put. This is a cool idea for a roller coaster. Demon's Dark Forest, go get them. But like, not. It's for this is a ride for children.
Yeah, this advertising was not warranted. Was the problem? The scariest part of the ride is the freefall drop track, and everything else was pretty tame. From what I've heard, it is a pretty solid family coaster. The theming is super great, but it is a family coaster. It is not a psychological thrill ride.
Like this is the same. Like if you just took Slinky Dog Dash, put a bunch of blood on him, and had a drop track, that would be this ride.
So you basically go up and down the lift hill, twist and turn through the forest until you enter this crypt, and then lights begin to flash before the room is plunged into darkness, and the car first drops, like they fake you out by dropping a couple of inches, and then down the full 16 feet in total darkness, and then this wraith appears in front of you as the train then launches backwards to go back to the station. But the thing about the backwards launch is you launch backwards, you go around a turn, and that's the end. Like it's not a totally warranted backwards launch. I would give this a 3 out of 5 on the oh hell no scale. I think I would pee my pants a little at the drop track, but I think I could handle the rest of this. Especially if this was like my only visit to Alton Towers, I would get on this. 60 feet is a little high for me for a drop, but it's not a steep drop. And I think if I was in the front couple cars, I would be okay.
Yeah, this seems like, Adam, if I was going to tell you that there's any roller coaster that I think you would actually enjoy and that you should ride, it would probably be this one. Like, especially out of the ones we're talking about today.
Yes.
So we have 2 roller coasters for you to ride. We have Super Duper Looper and we have their 13 Teen.
Yeah. And finally, we're going to finish it out in Alton Towers because I want to talk about, this is one of their newest coasters. It is a coaster called Wicker Man.
It is so cool. I'm obsessed with this roller coaster.
It's so cool. So Wicker Man is a wooden coaster, actually the first wooden coaster in the UK in some like 20 years.
Revival, baby.
Manufactured by Great Coasters International, best known for Gwazi, Wildcat, and Texas Stingray.
All 3 of which should get an Rocky Mountain Construction retracking. Gwazi already did. It's called Iron Gwazi. Hopefully it's very good. Texas Stingray, I think, is actually new, so that one doesn't count. And Wildcat, Hershey Park. Baby, Hershey Park, if you're out there, if you're listening to the podcast, please let RMC fix Wildcat. It's such a bad ride now. It's so rattly. It's so rough. It's not as good as Lightning Racers, which is a dueling roller coaster 2 seconds away. That's not even good. It's worse than that. Please, Mr. Hershey, Milton, if you're out there.
Milt, if I may call you. So the Wicker Man opened on March 20th, 2018, and was the first wooden coaster to ever incorporate fire into the attraction, with the goal of making
Seems like a great
coaster.
idea.
Yeah.
Somebody went, I have a great idea.
Because the whole goal, because this project almost did not go through, because so Merlin Entertainment is very insistent. Who would turn that down? Merlin is very insistent on their new roller coasters opening with some kind of world's first. So the Smiler was the world's first.
Merlin has come out as non-binary. I'm really glad for them.
So, like for the Smiler, it was the world's first 14 inversion coaster. For 13, it was world's first free fall drop coaster. So they almost didn't green light Wicker Man because they were like, it's just a wooden coaster. Like you need to add something. And they're like, what if it was
fire?
Set it on fire.
What? Oh, I love this roller coaster.
This coaster features a 72-foot drop and reaches a top speed of 43.6 miles per hour. The story follows guests being sacrificed to the Wicker Man by a cult village, and a promotional video for it featured this. They created this like fake rune language that people had to like while they were advertising for the ride. People had to like solve in order to find out what the ride was about. And when you solved it, you got this. We interrupt this to bring you good news. You were invited to a celebration of our Earth and its beauty. All this noise, all this technology. It's too much, isn't it? There is no time or space to think, is there? Deep down, you know the truth, don't you? The technology has now taken the reins. How did you get here? Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is this chance, your opportunity to reconnect with the Earth. Come join us near the woods and partake in our celebration. How far you choose to go, that is your choice. What part you choose to play, only you can decide. Be chosen on the night where the living meets the dead.
Yeah, I thought Kingdom Hearts 3 went off the rails. Personally, I think Nomura kind of lost his way.
So, and Alton Towers again goes buck wild with the advertising, including projecting the Wicker Man logo onto the London Eye. They
projected Nicolas Cage with the bees.
And they unveiled the tagline for the ride, Be Chosen. Alton Towers also tends to preview their scary coasters in a haunted maze during their Halloween event, like the year before it opens. They did the same thing in 2017 with a Wicker Man kind of themed maze, and they did the same thing with the Smiler and 13. They always do like a little preview, which I think is smart. I would love to see Halloween Horror Nights like do haunted mazes based on their rides. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
So the ride begins with a
themed maze.
Well, they did do that with the Jurassic Park. Remember when we talked about that one? The Jurassic Park in the dark, where it was like the
zombie
scare
velociraptors.
Zone. It was the Velociraptor scientist hybrids.
And
then the Toon Lagoon one. That was a good year for Halloween Horror Nights, of being an Islands of Adventure.
I wish J.K. Rowling wasn't, one, a bad person, but also I wish she was, two, more chill about people doing cool stuff with her property. Imagine a Harry Potter themed haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights.
In 2019, for the first time, they let Death Eaters kind of roam the Harry Potter areas during Halloween Horror Nights, because usually those parts just operate as normal, but they introduced Death Eaters in 2019, so I don't know if they're looking to do something or whatever.
Letting the fascists roam the Universal Park. That's a first.
So anyway, the ride begins with this pre-show in this like wicker dome using video projections and like projection mapping to like tell the story of the Wicker Man before guests board ride vehicles. Unfortunately, much of this ride's theming was cut due to budget cuts, except for the most important thing, which is an absolutely massive wooden flaming on fire effigy of the Wicker Man that the trains pass through 3 times. It is 50 feet tall. This thing is so cool, and it's actually made of steel and concrete that looks like wood. So like he's got fire coming out of his shoulders, so that he would not actually catch on fire, thankfully.
Thank God. We're changing Burning Man. Burning Man's gonna have a sick roller coaster now.
So I would, again, give this a 3 out of 5 on the oh hell no scale. I think I would be brave enough to do it if I got to go to Alton Towers. I think I would survive. I would have to ride in the front, coaster. Not only for the drops, but to my best chances of giving the Wicker Man a little kiss.
Yeah, and it's also important to get in first to give him a kiss, because you don't want him to be sullied by the people in front of you.
Yeah.
You know? Like, people talk all the time, you get in the front of the roller coaster for speed, you get in the back of the roller coaster for whip, but they never talk about the fact that if you're in the front of the coaster, you can kiss the Wicker Man.
Yeah, again.
And that's on any roller coaster.
I think that if I was at Alton Towers, I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to come back here again, I think I would do this. I say this now, and I'm sure looking at it, I would be like, oh, hell no, but...
Yeah, this is a 5 on my scale because I love Woodies. Like, I think they're so fun. I think that they're not as beloved as they should be. I think they deliver what I think is the best kind of G-force, which is that negative, that ejector air time. I want to ride this. Also, I want to smooch the Wicker Man.
Yeah. So those are, again, I had to like cut a couple of these because I had so much to say about these four. But what did we learn today? Alton Towers, y'all Randy over there. Keep
wild over there.
You.
We learned don't vote conservative. Austerity economics sucks.
And screw J.K. Rowling.
Screw J.K. Rowling. That's de facto for this whole podcast.
Yeah, I hope you take that away from every episode.
Austerity policy sucks, and screw J.K. Rowling. Those are the two.
So I'm hoping that next time I am in Disney World, I'm brave enough to face the Forbidden Mountain and go on Expedition Everest. I think I could do it. I think I can.
I think that when I move to LA at the end of the year, you should come out to Disneyland and you can ride Matterhorn.
I want to ride the Matterhorn so bad. It looks so cool.
That one's fun. Anyway,
not to derail from the outro,
please.
But have you ever seen that video of Jack Black on the Matterhorn?
Of course I
have. And it's just him going, looking for Yeti, baby. And then he passes by the Yeti and he goes, Yeti.
I rewatched the video of him dancing while wearing, I think it was Five Nights at Freddy's pants.
Yeah.
And a Fortnite shirt. I hope he's doing well.
That's the other thing you should take away from this podcast is God bless Jack Black.
What a good man.
Anyway,
this has been The Great American Scream. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed, you can leave a rating on Spotify. You can follow us on Spotify. No, you can't leave a rating on Spotify. It's on iTunes. But you can follow us on Spotify. Or wherever you get your podcasts. Best way to spread the word about the show is word of mouth. So tell a friend about the show. They may enjoy it. Also, we have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/greatscreampod. There's cool stuff there. Adam posts the outlines. We posted the playlist from Murder Ballads 2 weeks ago. We will start doing more live streams in the future. I finally got Dead by Daylight downloaded, so we should do that. Adam, can you pimp our social medias, please?
Yes, you can check us out on Facebook at The Great American Scream, or much more frequently on Twitter and Instagram at Great Scream Pod. Let us know if you've ever been on any of these coasters, what you think of them, or if there's a horror coaster we didn't talk about that you want to mention. Please let us know. Tweet at us or post using the hashtag TGAS. And as always, if there's something you'd like to hear about on the show, tweet it at us because your suggestion may become the topic for a future episode.
Yay! Thank you goes out to Michael Seguda, who does the disclaimer at the beginning of the show, as well as Stevie Viola, who does the music at the beginning and the end. Also, a special thank you to all of our current patrons. Thank you to Ben, Eric, Casper, Bree, Gail, Joyce, Brucker, Melinda, and Chris. I've been Devin Wright.
I've been Adam O'Connell.
And hopefully you have been spooked.
Were you spooked? What happened?
My phone is on my chair underneath my right leg, and right when I said that, it vibrated, and so I got spooked. Safely though.
Yeah, we see it out there.
It was just my phone.